President has come to this chamber to report on the State of the Union. Tonight, no such report is needed. It has already been delivered by the American people.
September 11th, 2001, a day that changed U.S. history forever. It all started off as Flight 11, Flight 175, Flight 93, and Flight 77 all took off from their respective airports. Now, later on that day, Flight 11 was hijacked by Muslim terrorists and crashed into the North Tower. Flight 175 was also hijacked by Muslim terrorists and crashed into the South Tower. Flight 93 crashed in a field in Pennsylvania after being taken back over by the passengers inside the plane. Now, as they were trying to land, they had crashed in a field. Flight 77 crashed into the Pentagon after being hijacked by Muslim terrorists. These events are said to be caused by the act of Muslim terrorists, but some skeptics would say otherwise. Here are the conspiracy theories for that deal.
Controlled demolition conspiracy theory spends the collapse of the North Tower, South Tower, and Seven World Trade Center was not caused by the plane crash damage or by the resulting fire damage, but by the explosives installed in the buildings in advance. The reasoning behind this explained that if the U.S. government had planted explosives in the building but made it look like terrorists had done the damage, it would have given them a perfect excuse to go to war in Iraq.
If you look at this footage of the South Tower collapsing, you can see bursts of ash extruding out of the sides, possibly implying that there were bombs being detonated as it was falling. Skeptics claim that this was due to bombs, but could have also been from the airflow blowing out of the windows. Extreme heat would have turned all that is left to suffer into ash, and the floors pushing together would be forced out. As you can see, World Trade Center Tower 1 and 2 are made into 3 sections. Reinforced elevator floors for sky lobby and motors directly below the impact zone would stop a genuine collapse, forcing the top section to fall into the street.
There are theories of an international Jewish involvement on the attacks on September 11th. Reports have shown that 4,000 Jews did not show up to work at the World Trade Center that day. The estimated Jewish deaths were around 270 to 400. The conspiracy is they say that the Jews caused 9/11 to help wage war against Palestine to further expand Israel's borders. Before 9/11, such people felt sympathy for Palestine. The case of Sharon the Butcher, who was head of the Israeli government, ordered troops into Palestine to massacre civilians. Some people came forward and told Great Britain's government. After that, the soldiers had to testify, and those that did mysteriously died. This man was a man of honor at the White House while George Bush was president. Now, on to 9/11, they framed Arabs when it was really the Jews. So the people who were flying the planes were not Arabian at all, and the evidence they found was conveniently placed there. So in conclusion, the Jews planned 9/11 and framed the Arabians in hope of expanding Israel's borders.
Bear with us as we explain a complex and bizarre theory on 9/11. Now, for a little backstory, this theory revolves around aliens and extraterrestrials. Now, before I explain the theory, let me introduce you to what has or has not been happening. It begins with two alien types called the Greys and the Reptilians, who want our genetic material and our soul energy matrix. Believe it or not, we are the composition of 22 alien races, so our DNA is quite precious. Both of these races are also devoid of souls, so they hope to develop technology to extract a human soul and implant it in themselves. These races are dying, so they hope to clone themselves, but need our DNA and our souls. These races have made contact with world government officials and somewhat taken over our governments. If all this is true, then, here is how it all ties together. The Reptilians and Greys both made 9/11 happen to distract us with war and violence. They use tools such as television, media, newspapers, and the news to deceive and distract us from the bigger picture. As for evidence, there are said to be tunnels underground where such creatures live or in remote areas. In history, there are said to be snake beings with great intelligence and other qualities. Now, some physical evidence would be this video of George W. Bush. Notice the eye clicking noise and his constant blinking. This is said to be constant traits of reptilian morphing.
Over the net, a small amount of cash pooled with others can do an enormous amount of good. You had AOL and Apple, for example, using their position on the internet to help collect small contributions. I think AOL put together about $7.5 million in small contributions.
World Trade Center Building 7 was a 47-story skyscraper. It collapsed at 5:20 p.m. an entire 7 hours after the two towers fell due to damage from fire and debris. Some skeptics claim different. One of many controlled demolition conspiracies claimed that the building was demolished because of the belief that the United States government wanted to destroy key files held there about corporate fraud. One of the most popular beliefs is that the owner, leaseholder, and insurance policyholder of World Trade Center Building 7, Larry Silverstein, issued a $4 billion insurance policy about 1 week before its collapse. Also, skeptics heard Silverstein say "pull it," usually a phrase used to say demolish the building. Some evidence. Videos have shown that there have been a few key occurrences that prove the building was demolished purposely. This video clip here of the building falling shows that the entire building falls at just about the same time. Normally a building would fall unevenly because it would all start in one location and the rest would slowly give in due to lack of structure. Concluding this, the government finally claims that the collapse of the building was due to lack of support due to fire damage. Whether or not the government is trying to hide the true cause is still to be discovered, but until the official theory is that fire damage brought the building to